What's going on, everyone? Matt Thornsberry here with Big 12 Blitz. Glad to be back. Man, I had to take last week off. I ended up getting pretty sick. It was a rough week last week, so had to postpone the Big 12 Blitz to this week. And man, I tell you, we missed a show earlier a couple weeks ago, and it was the same thing. There were some really, really good games. And I was so upset that I couldn't hop on here and talk about it. And the same thing last week. There were some really good games, and I was like, daggone it, man. But yeah, we're back, and I'm still a little bit stuffy, so I apologize. Please forgive me for that, but I'm going to try my best to get through it here. And I was kind of in a hurry. I was kind of being quick trying to hop on here, so I didn't get to throw some tickers down for the games that we'll be talking about from last week and this week. So I have to throw them up while we're speaking about them. Nonetheless, we're here. We're ready. Again, thank you for joining. If you're new here, my name is Matt Thornsberry. We run the Big 12 Blitz, and we will be covering last weekend's Week 8 Big 12 football. We'll go over 5 games, and then we'll move forward into this weekend's Week 9 Big 12 football games. And so we'll hop right into it. Like I said, I'll have to throw up the tickers here, and we'll go over it. Just let me do that real quick. How was everybody's week? How was everybody's weekend? Did you guys enjoy the football games? If you're in here right now, throw some comments in here. We're in here. We talk about football. This is a discussion. I say this every week. This is a discussion. We like to conversate. That's what it's about. We enjoy some Big 12 football. So throw some comments in here. We'll see what you guys were thinking while I work on this real quick. Take me like 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Let me just say it. 15. First game. I'm just going to throw it up real quick so we don't have to. All right. First game, which was a very good game, man. If you caught that, I say that about every game, but the Big 12 has been pretty wild this year. Oklahoma State, BYU, luckily remaining undefeated with that last minute touchdown to go up 38-35 over Oklahoma State and to stay undefeated, push Oklahoma State to 3-4 on the year, and having a rough start to the Big 12. Oklahoma State that moves them to 0-4 to open up Big 12 play. And, got to be rough. Mountaineer fans, we think we have it rough right now, which we do. Not saying we don't, but same predicament that Oklahoma State is in, And hey, Oklahoma State 0-4, and I mean, luckily what's West Virginia right now? 3 let's see, that was supposed to be Big 12. Hold on just a second. Let's change it back. There we go. We're 2-2 in Big 12. So at least we have two wins in the Big 12. Man, Oklahoma State. Notice. Outlaw! There's Outlaw. Glad to see you, man. Throwing some comments in here. Woo! To be the Blitz, you have to be the Met. The whole West Virginia freaking show. And that's the bottom line. I love it, Outlaw. That's good stuff. Let's throw that up there. For everyone to see. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support. You hopping in here every week. It's not a show unless Outlaw's here, right? It's good stuff. But so we had a great game. It was 20. Let's see, what was it? 21-14 at halftime. And then BYU comes burning up 14-0. They outscored Oklahoma State in the third quarter. And then from then on out, it was just 14-10. Oklahoma State outscored BYU. But if you watched it, you know how it was. BYU scored in the final minute to take the win over Oklahoma State. Of course, poor Alan Bowman, man. He continues to have his struggles. Wasn't completely inefficient, but didn't, if I'm not mistaken, did he get hurt or did they just, no, they switched quarterbacks, didn't they? Or did he get hurt? Nonetheless, I know that he ended the game. His final stats were 11 to 19, 85 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. What sucks for Oklahoma State is that Garrett Rangel went in and went 6 of 9, but he had a touchdown and an interception as well. Brendan Presley, if you watch the game, you know he had his one pass, the one pass he had. Of course, he's not the quarterback. That's what I'm saying. If you watch the game, you've seen the play from Brendan Presley where he had the touchdown. One attempt and 1 touchdown for him. He gets it up and in. Hold on just a second. Here we go. Box score. Back to the box score. Kind of messed up here. There we go. All right. But yeah, Ollie Gordon finally finding his footing. I say finally finding his footing, but you know, if you've been paying attention to Oklahoma State, a lot of their problems have been stemming from their offensive line has really struggled this year so far. And of course, it sucks when you have a NFL caliber running back like the Cowboys have in Ollie Gordon. I mean, you know, a lot of people expected him to be massive this year and just hasn't happened. But nonetheless, I mean, he had 16 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including that 50-yarder that he had. I mean, it's, man, you got to feel for Oklahoma State. I mean, I know that WVU is 3-4, but they're at least sitting at 2-2 for Big 12 play, and with a win over Oklahoma State, right? So both squads with high hopes coming into the season, and man, both teams not where they want to be right now. So it's rough. It's rough. You look over on BYU side though. Jake Retzlaff was 13 of 26, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. LJ Martin, though, 20 carries, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, the quarterback, Jake, excuse me. Sorry for that. Quarterback also had 9 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. So Retzlaff had 3 touchdowns to be accounted for in that game. So he had a pretty solid game, and they needed it. Like I said, last minute touchdown, man. Outlaw said it's Marty and Doc in the DeLorean Back to the Future to 1984. As in 1984, Vandy beat Bama and BYU was undefeated. And the last true G5 school to win a natty. Guess who's still undefeated? Yeah, man, isn't it wild? College football this season is crazy. We haven't had a season like this in a very well. I mean, like you just said, we're taking it back to 1984. This is a pretty, you know, for some people, it's a nostalgic time, right? Good times. You know, the 80s were popping for a lot of people back then. So you look now, and I tell you, BYU. I'm excited to continue to watch BYU because each week we say we're going to see what BYU is made of. You know, we're going to see if BYU continues to weather the storm. I say weather the storm, but continue to prove themselves that they should be undefeated. And I'm telling you, man, each week they are proving that they deserve to be undefeated. Where were we here? Let's go back. Here, you go to BYU schedule, and they have UCF coming up, which is a weird test for them. Outlaw said some people, as in old gumps like me, right? I ain't going to throw that out there. That's all right. as long as we all like some college football, that's all that matters. But you look at BYU; they go at UCF this week, which is a weird test because again, the Big 12 has been so weird. All of college football has been so weird, but especially the Big 12. I mean, you had Utah. Of course, mostly Utah fans thought that they were going to run the Big 12, but now there were a lot of experts who thought that Utah was going to run the board as well, and they're even struggling, right? But then you look on the flip side, and you look at UCF. They had some players hit the portal, and then they had those back-to-back losses, right? It was back-to-back losses, right? Or am I wrong? It was back-to-back losses, wasn't it? Oh, I'm sorry. They had 4 losses in a row. Wow. I did not know that. Sheesh. I haven't been paying attention. UCF has 4 losses in a row after starting 3-0, but of course their wins were against New Hampshire, Sam Houston, and TCU. And then they allowed 48 against Colorado. Then they got beat by a mid-Florida team, 24-13. Then they got beat by Cincinnati at home, 19-13. But then you look at this last game against Iowa State, and they were beating Iowa State the whole game. And, man, they allowed Iowa State to pull it out. So it's really weird with UCF. Outlaw says, y'all jump out and smash the thumbs up option for Matt. Be great. Yeah, there you go. I appreciate it. Outlaw. If y'all can, I see 15 of you in here. Appreciate everyone being in here. So grateful. I still got my ticker at the bottom. What am I doing? Let's pop this up there real quick. There we go. If you can, please, it would mean so much for me. If you're in here right now, just push that thumbs up bottom at the bottom, or goodness gracious, that thumbs up button at the bottom. And I'd greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for hopping in here and watching. Throw some comments in here. Let's talk Big 12 football, like Outlaw. Yeah, but throw that back up there. Perfect. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I might do that a few times this show. Still trying to get it out of me. But yeah, UCF at Iowa State too. I want to keep that in mind. UCF at Iowa State, winning the whole game and then giving it up there in the last quarter and losing 38-35. So, a lot of fight to them. Of course, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Sasquatch says, what up, Matt? Hey, what's up, man? Glad to have you in here. That's awesome. Always love to have people hopping in here and throwing comments in here. I appreciate you throwing some comments in here. We're talking BYU. Obviously, we're talking BYU and Oklahoma State right now, BYU getting away from Oklahoma State, luckily. And now they're moving in the next week. They play UCF, which is a weird game for me. As I was saying, I don't know what to expect. It could be a dangerous game for BYU. It was almost a dangerous game for Iowa State. And you wouldn't think that, being that it was a home game for Iowa State. That's a tough place to play, man. And UCF was putting it on Iowa State. So I don't know what to expect coming up this week. Of course, we're going to get to this game. We're going to get to that game here in just a few. I just wanted to touch on it real quick because, of course, we're talking about BYU and they're undefeated, and they're getting out of this game by the skin of their teeth, man. So, yeah, we're going to keep it moving. Spent a little bit of time talking about that one, but, man, it's a close one. It's a close one. Again, BYU remaining undefeated, winning in the last minute against Oklahoma State, 38-35. Let's keep right on rolling. As I said at the beginning of the show, for you people just joining, I'm going to be throwing these games up on the ticker as we go because I didn't have enough time to throw everything together. I was kind of in a pinch for time this week, but I was not missing this episode. So Give me just a minute here to throw this next game up on the ticker. Let's see. Who should we talk about? I really want to talk about this game, and that's the game we're going to talk about. All right. We are going to talk about this one right here. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. And this is my point of you just don't know about the Big 12 right now. You just don't know. All right, let me save that, and I'm going to throw it up here. TCU getting the big win against Utah, 13-7. Now, weeks past, I've been saying that Utah's a different team without Cam Rising, and I'm keeping that. I'm not saying that they're not, but Isaac Wilson now has a few games under his belt. Outlaw says, just linked you out to about 5 Facebook groups. Maybe it will help. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're killing it, man. That's awesome. But yeah, Isaac Wilson has a few games under his belt now. And, of course it's a tall task. And I'm not trying to be too harsh here, but after a few games under your belt and you have big expectations, and that's where these comments are kind of coming from. The background of these comments is that Wilson has high expectations. It's not like, for me anyways, I'm thinking he wasn't thrown into these games thinking, oh, we'll just weather the storm with him, right? Like, I feel like they still have the expectations that they want to win with Wilson being thrown in there. And that might sound kind of weird or off-putting, as in you would think that every team would be in that stance, right? That of course they want to win no matter who they put in there. But I'm going to break that down a little bit, and I'm going to say sometimes you put a backup in if a starter isn't playing well that you expected to play well, of course. Sometimes you put them in because you want that quarterback to grow, or you want that backup player to grow. You want them to develop, and you're just going to have to bite the bullet for now, and hopefully he's going to grow in each game and each performance, and eventually, and maybe he's going to be like a rare case where that freshman backup or sophomore backup goes in and he balls out, right? And you can't, of course, you try not to expect that from everyone because everyone's different, but I think that they kind of expected Isaac Wilson to go in, and he's, again, maybe they didn't expect it from the first game, but again, he's had a few games under his belt. So, man, you go and play against TCU at home, of all places, you go play this game at home and you lose 13-7 and you only score 7 points. That's rough. That is rough. And I would say that I feel for Utah fans, but after all the smack they've been talking before they joined the Big 12 and then after they joined the Big 12, you know what? Hey, sorry, guys. You made your bed. You can lay in it. Just, yeah. You run through some quick stats here. I mean, Isaac Wilson, he was 17-33, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That's just not going to get it done. Again, you only score 7 points, and they didn't even score until the third quarter. And before that, they were down 10-0. You look over at Josh Hoover, quarterback for TCU. He's 22 of 41, 263 yards. And they split up the rushing numbers. They had Williams, 7 carries, 72 yards. Battle, 8 carries, 45 yards. So they split those up there. Yeah, it's just, big time. I would say it's big time frustration for the Utah Utes right now. You definitely expected to come into that game and play much better than what they did. So, yeah. TCU moving to 4-3 on the year, 2-2 in the Big 12. Utah dropping to 4-3 and 1-3. They are starting 1-3 in the Big 12 after saying they were going to run the Big 12. They dropped the 1-3 to start their first year in the Big 12. Man, that's rough. TCU, again, getting the win, 13-7 over Utah. Let's keep it rolling. That's number two. Number two. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's a little bit dysfunctional this week. I usually have everything looking so much better than this. I apologize. Nonetheless, we're going to get it on here. Kid Larkin in on you. Waiting for Dion next. Let me drop down here and add the next game. Let me add it in on here. I already know what we're going to talk about. Actually, there's two more that I'm waiting to talk about here. Kind of already touched on UCF and Iowa State, so I'm not going to really touch on that one. Of course, Iowa State getting away from UCF 38-35. Same score as BYU and Oklahoma State. Isn't that wild? Becht, he was having a tough game. Not really as accurate as he usually is. He was 20 of 46 for 274 yards and a touchdown. What's the big stat from this game is UCF's RJ Harvey, 25 carries, 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. Man, guy was putting in work. But yeah, moving on to the next game, we are going. Why did they go to that? What? No, go back. Crazy. All right. Because this one, this one kind of surprised me. And I'll tell you why. Save. Colorado moving to 5-2 overall in the season, 3-1 to start their Big 12 play. They had 28 points in the first half. Oh, I'm sorry. They beat Arizona 34-7. That drops Arizona to 3-4 and 1-3 in Big 12 play. I kind of expected the same thing with Utah, right? I kind of expected a little more out of Arizona's offense. Same thing with Utah. I expected a lot more, actually, from Arizona's offense. Especially how they played other teams early in the season. I just did not expect Colorado to just completely run away with this one. It's wild to me. You go and, of course, though, Shedeur Sanders doing what he's been doing all season, 23 of 33, efficient, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hey, the guy's balling out. They go and they score 28 points in the first half. And they shut out Arizona. If it wouldn't have been for that touchdown in the first quarter, they would have completely shut Arizona out the entire game, which is impressive, man. That's impressive. So they laid goose eggs the rest of the game, second, third, and fourth quarter. And Colorado, they are out to prove themselves this year. Picked to finish in the bottom of the Big 12. Dion, Shedeur, Travis Hunter, they're all out to prove that they belong and that they can win. Now again, who have they played? We'll go look. They still got beat by Kansas State, right? And Kansas State's proven that they're probably going to be the Big 12 contenders, Big 12 championship contenders. But it was a close game. It was a really good game. Kansas State gets out of there 31-28. But other than that, Colorado's beat Baylor, UCF, and Arizona. So you're not what did I say they were 3-1 in Big 12. So yeah, their 3 wins over teams that are eh. And I say that very lightly. I say that very lightly because, as we already seen, you don't know what to expect from UCF, and you don't know what to expect from Baylor. I mean, they just went out. Baylor just went out and beat Texas Tech. I was debating on speaking about that game because I expected Tech to run away with that one, and Baylor comes out and stomps Texas Tech 59-35. I mean, who's seen that coming from Baylor? What? So I say that very lightly, that Colorado hasn't really played anyone in the Big 12 yet except Kansas State. I say that very lightly because you just don't know what team you're going to get that week. Yeah, who knows? Outlaw, I know Outlaw. You don't like Dion. Outlaw says, and Dion is still on time. Deion Sanders. Arizona was a fluke last year. This is the real Arizona. Ah, all right. Interesting. I think, to be fair, now, and this, of course, this isn't anything secretive, or this should be, something that everyone knows, of course. Before the season started, Arizona had all those recruits. Yeah, all those players hit the portal. And because they went from a lot of people expecting them to be in the top 4 or 5 of the Big 12 this season. And then all those players hit the portal, right? And it dropped from there. A lot of the predictions were like, well, that's probably not going to be the same Arizona team as they were last season. And of course, they were expected to be much better this year with some additions and returning players. But yeah, I definitely think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I won't say they were a fluke. They were a good team last year. It's just that they've had some stabs in the heart, man. Losing those players to the portal, that was a big time hit for them. So, and of course now, and as the season continues to progress, you're right. I think they are going to continue to get exposed, unfortunately. So yeah, and of course, we're on the same page here about Colorado. I don't think they are that good, but until they lose, they're continuing to go out and prove themselves that they deserve to be in that top portion of the Big 12, and that they deserve to be talked about as a top team. But again, they lost to Kansas State. Even though it was a close game, they still lost, right? So we'll see what they're about. But yeah, let's keep it rolling. Keep it moving. Again, Colorado getting another big win over Arizona, 34-7. 34-7 to move Colorado to 5-2 on the year and 3-1 in the Big 12. So keep right on rolling. Actually, I think I will talk about. Let's see, which one do I want to talk about? Do I want to talk about that one? No, I already touched on Baylor beating Texas Tech. Of course, nobody expected that. 59 points laid on Texas Tech. Shoo, crazy. Even with Morton, who's the quarterback for Texas Tech, going out and throwing 33 or 49, 286 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Brooks. Brooks has ran the ball for over 100 yards every single game this year. Every single game. There was only one game he didn't, and that was because he didn't play. And they lost that game. Unfortunately, they lost this one. Their defense had a tough way to go in that one. Tough way to go. So, yeah. Just touch on that one real quick. That moved Baylor back to 3-4 on the season, and that was their first Big 12 win. So that picked them up to 1-3 in Big 12. But that dropped Texas Tech to 5-2, and that was their first loss in the Big 12. So they dropped to 3-1. But yeah, the next game I want to talk about is, let me write it down here. This one didn't really surprise me like a ton. It did surprise me, but not like a ton. Cincinnati getting a win over Arizona State. That pushed Cincinnati to 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in Big 12 play. Dropped Arizona State to 5-2 and 2-2 in Big 12 play. Yeah, I would say that's a good win for Cincinnati. But it just surprised me a lot because, man, Utah, poor Utah. Are they being exposed? That's my question. That's my question for everyone watching right now. Throw a comment in here and tell me your thoughts on Utah. Is Utah just down right now? Bad luck because they have a backup quarterback in? Or are they being exposed? Are they really not as good as they thought they were and as the rest of the nation thought they were? A lot of experts expected them to win the Big 12 this year. Even with, again, my point is, or are they just down right now and unlucky because of a quarterback issue? That's my question. I'd like to know what you guys think. But yeah, I mean, Arizona State gets 2 wins against Kansas, and then the win over then number 16 Utah, 27-19. And then they go to Cincinnati and lose 24-14, which was the least amount of points that they have scored this season. 14 points, least amount of points they've scored this season. Give it up to them. Wow. Give it up to Cincinnati defense. Jeff Sims for Arizona State, 12 of 23, 155 yards. No touchdowns. Sorsby for Cincinnati, 23 of 31, 206 yards. No touchdown and 1 interception. Big part of their offense came from Corey Kiner, 22 carries, 102 yards. Nice. Sorsby getting it done on the ground, though. He comes away with 2 touchdowns on the ground. Nice. Excuse me. Cam Scatabo, 17 carries, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Arizona State. So really a stale game in the second half. You had Cincinnati scoring all 24 of their points in the first half. So they were up 24-7 in the first half. And couldn't manage to score anything after that. And, of course, Arizona State only managed to score 7 more after that. Wow. Outlaw says, Cam's in-and-out career has hurt Utah as far as having consistency and fluidity in the offense. Retire already. Yeah. Mountaineer Athlete says, Utah has been really good because they've had back-to-back top-notch coaches. I believe they would take a dive downward after Whittingham is gone, just be a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team. Hey, I honestly, to both of those comments, I think it's a matter of just coming back to reality for Utah. I didn't see any world where they came in and dominated the Big 12. I think a lot of people underestimate it. I know a lot of people underestimate the Big 12 and Big 12 football. This is a tough conference. It's a lot of good football. And you have several teams. I say several. You have a lot of teams in the Big 12 that play football the right way. They are good fundamentally. They play good, sound football. And I say this every week. I said it last week. I say it every week about Kansas State. Kansas State is one of those teams that proves that every week, all the time. And I think Utah is just, they're getting hit with reality that, okay, maybe we're not joining the cupcake conference that we thought we were joining. And yeah, I agree, Outlaw. Cam is having a tough time and just dealing with too many injuries. And it's tough for a team to really find their rhythm when they don't have a quarterback that is having consistency, right? So, I mean, how can your offense have any kind of consistency when they can't even have a quarterback who runs the show for the offense carry any kind of consistency? So, yeah, I completely agree with those two comments. It sucks for them because it's kind of a double-edged sword right now, and I say that in ways of the consistency is not their friend, and they're playing in a much tougher conference than they thought they were playing in. So they're just getting it from both ends right now. So it is what it is. Let's move on and move forward. Unfortunately, I have to talk about this game. And we got to talk about it so we can get into this week's games and get into my predictions. Again, I do not want to talk about this, but I have to. Outlaw knows what I'm about to talk about. And if you watched this show before, you know what I'm about to talk about. What was this score? All right. Again, I'm so sorry that this is not running as well as it typically does, but oh well. Kansas State. Number 17, then number 17, Kansas State moves to 6-1 and 3-1 in the Big 12, massacring West Virginia 45-18, pushing West Virginia to 3-4 on the season and 2-2 in Big 12 play. Guys, man, it's rough. It's rough in Morgantown right now, and I don't know. I don't want to hear. Of course, there were several injuries that hindered WVU in that game, but I mean, there were decisions being made in that game and play calls that were being made in that game that was taking the Mountaineers in the wrong direction to begin with anyways. So when I hear the injuries excuse, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it. Because the eye test, how the team was performing, everything that we saw in that game, it just wasn't looking good anyways. So, I guess I'll go back to, and I was tweeting this, that I don't know what this staff told Garrett Green. I don't know what they were putting in his ear all off season, but they ruined this kid's gameplay. All right. This kid was good at making plays with his feet. Mainly. And that's who he is. Make plays with your legs. Make the defense pay for leaving wide open field in front of you. That's who you are. And then when that defense collapses, you can hit them for some big gains and big passes. But they made Garrett Green believe in his mind that he had to be some pocket passer. I guess they told him that, he can. If you're going to make it to the NFL, you have to be a pocket passer, and it's just not the truth. It's not the truth. Don't even think about that right now. I mean, you're not even in that conversation right now. Be good at what you're good at, and that's what it should always be. Because they ruined his gameplay. He's not a passer. He passes the ball and he makes passes after he makes plays with his feet. And unfortunately, I mean, it just hasn't been that way. Because they made him think that he has to throw the ball more than he needs to run it, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, you have that side of things that's just not going well, and then you look on the defensive side. I mean, of course, they gave up 45 points. And that Kansas State offense is really good. But they gave up 45 points. They're still struggling. That offense is still – or that defense is still struggling. I don't know. There need to be big changes in Morgantown. And right now, there are sources saying that this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We think that there's going to be change at the end of the season if he makes it to the end of the season. And we hope so, but we'll see. Yeah. So, nonetheless, take a look at it. Johnson, he was 19 to 29, very efficient. He picked apart that West Virginia defense like they weren't even there. 19 to 29, 300 yards, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns. Garrett Green, of course, he got hurt, so he's 9 to 19, 85 yards. And he had 2 interceptions in the first quarter. He did throw a touchdown there before half. Then Nico came in with 6 to 13 with 1 touchdown. Garrett also was trying to get it done with his feet. 11 carries, 89 yards. See, and this is another thing. This is a problem for me. Neil wants to talk about, did you see Garrett Green at the end of the first half? He took us 90 yards was it maybe back-to-back drives? I can't remember. Yes, he did that with his legs. If you go back and watch it, you'll see those drives, especially like the final drive of the half, where we went down and was on the 3-yard line or something, and Garrett Green threw it in the ground. He made plays with his feet. Both times they drove the ball down the field 90-plus yards. It was because they freed him up to make plays with his legs. We weren't going 3 and out or throwing interceptions because we were trying to force passes. The proof is in the pudding. It's there. Stick to what you're good at. But Garrett Green, 11 carries, 89 yards. C.J. Donaldson not having too good of a night, 12 carries, 34 yards. And Jaheim White, of course, he got hurt too, 7 carries, 18 yards. Over on the other side, DJ Giddens, 19 carries, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Man, rough way to go. But, all right, let's move into next week's games. This week's games, I should say. Week 9. I'm sure, of course, we're going to be moving into some really good games this week. And who knows what's going to happen. What's going to happen? I don't know. My predictions have been going downhill ever since I started. I don't even remember what I started. I think I started like 8-0. And then ever since then, you can't predict the Big 12. You just can't do. Not this year. Not this year. Not this year. And we have, that's why this week's show is called Who Will Make a Move with Their Backs Against the Wall? Because we've seen some games this past week. Of course, Oklahoma State losing a nail-biter to try to put themselves back on track against an undefeated BYU would have been a huge win for Oklahoma State. So their backs are against the wall big time, winless in the Big 12. And now they go to Baylor to play a Baylor team that's 3-4, 1-3 in Big 12, that just smacked Texas Tech, put 59 points on their head. That's a big game, Oklahoma State better watch out. It's at Baylor. And home field advantage is big time in college football. So Who knows about that one? You go to Texas Tech and TCU. TCU is coming off a game where they just got punched in the mouth. And they're going to TCU, who just beat Utah. Those two games right there, what can you expect from those two games? I don't know, man. I really don't know. And then you go to undefeated BYU, number 11 BYU. They're going to UCF. And UCF just almost beat Iowa State at Iowa State. Man, like, Mountaineer Athlete says, Green has just reached his ceiling. He's a great athlete, but a tiny, undersized scrambler quarterback who's not the best thrower. I honestly think he's above his weight a little bit. Yeah, man. It's I don't think he's over his head. It's just I think that coaching staff is trying to make him out to be a quarterback that he's not, right? Because he's good at what he does. He's a very, very good scrambling quarterback. And if they would make plays that catered to his play style, then I think it would be a much different look for this Mountaineer offense. It'd be a much different look. But they're trying to make Garrett Green more than what he is. Here we go. Let's throw this up here. Mountaineer Athlete says, honest question, who would you rather have as our quarterback, Garrett Green or Skylar Howard? It's a very easy question for me. Very easy. Skylar Howard. And I would say that I would pick that any day of the week. They're very similar in their play styles, I would say. But Skylar was a better passer. He was. Now, he was inaccurate as well. He was. He couldn't hit a slant pass to save his life. But for some reason, man, his deep ball. Now, he had Shelton Gibson. And Shelton Gibson was top-notch receiver. He had several receivers that year. He had Shelton Gibson. He had Javon Durant. He had who else did he have? The slot receiver. Oh man, what was his name? Oh gosh, it's going to bother me. There was one more that I just can't think of right now. I'm about to look it up. Shelton Gibson, Javon Durant, and then the slot receiver who was really good. You could pass it to him on any third down, and he would make the catch. I got to look that up. 2015 WU football. Hold on just a second, and I'll tell you who it was. Okay. Wait, what? No, go back. All right. Full box score. DeKill Shorts. That's who it was. Shelton Gibson, DeKill Shorts, Javon Durant. I mean, his receiving core was nice. He had a nice receiving core. But I'm not saying that Garrett Green doesn't have a nice receiving core. We don't get the ball to Hudson Clement nearly enough. I don't think we get the ball to anyone nearly enough. It's crazy. So, yeah. Nathan Price. Skylar, he won games. I hate to say it, but Garrett is a poor man, Skylar. Yeah, Nathan, I agree. Mountaineer Athlete says he agrees as well. And then Nathan said, I asked some people at the game the other day, and that is the consensus. Yeah, I agree, obviously. Skylar could throw the ball better. That's it. And he made plays with his feet. He was a very good scrambling quarterback. So, yeah. And I think a huge difference here is that Skylar Howard was a very good deep ball passer. Very good. There were a lot of times he would just lay it right in the breadbasket of Shelton Gibson. Perfect passes. But he was also really good at throwing those medium passes. When you got down to the slants and the short passes, short routes, for some reason he just couldn't throw those. So, yeah. But yeah, back to this week's games. I'm sorry, getting a little bit off track, but I appreciate the discussion. Keep throwing them in there. Keep throwing the questions in there. Keep throwing the comments in there. I appreciate you guys doing that. That's what this is all about. Typically, we have about like 5 or 6 other guys that are in here throwing some questions in and commenting, but I haven't seen them. There's another Matt. There's another Matt who opts in here and throws some in here. There's like 3 or 4 other people. Unfortunately, they're not in here tonight, but that's okay. We got it. We're rolling. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I mean, you got several games this week that you just don't know what to expect, man. I mean, you got Colorado and Cincinnati, 5-2, both of them 5-2, both of them 3-1 in Big 12. You have West Virginia and Arizona, who are in the same boat. You have Texas Tech and TCU, Oklahoma State and Baylor, BYU and UCF. I mean, these are all games that maybe a lot of people in, around ESPN or other places might not really care about. But when you get down to it, these are probably going to be really good games and games that you just cannot predict. If I was a betting man, I would not bet on any of these games because I have no clue which direction they're going to go. No clue at all. But yeah, I'm going to throw one of them up here real quick. Shoot, what the heck? There we go. We got wait. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I'm trying. Again, this would be much cleaner and be a much better show if I would have had time to get everything together. I just didn't, and I apologize. This game will be on because typically, let me give you guys the lowdown real quick. Typically, I would have the game on here at the bottom with the ticker and everything. What channel the game was on, what time the game was on, and the betting lines for all these. And I just didn't have enough time to do all that, and I apologize. Please don't hold it against me. This game will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN Plus. I'm trying to do that now. It's just taking time. Save. All right. First game I want to talk about. Yeah, Mountaineer Athletes. To Kill Shorts. Yeah, that's who I was talking about. First game I want to talk about is 3-4 Oklahoma State going to 3-4 Baylor. 3-4 Baylor. Now, again, I just don't know what to expect from these two teams. You have a winless Oklahoma State team going to a Baylor team that just dropped the bomb on Texas Tech. So, I don't really know what to expect here. Will we see Alan Bowman play a better game? I don't know. Since he's had a tough way to go, and I don't know what the injury. Did he get hurt or did they just pull him? Okay, yeah. Okay, so they are still going to play Bowman. I just seen that. They are still going to play Bowman this week. They're going to start him this week after benching him this last week. So hey, maybe that will kick him into high gear, right? Maybe. So maybe we'll see a pissed off Oklahoma State team going into Baylor this week and just giving it to them. Who knows? I just know that it's tough to go on the road in the Big 12 and beat anybody. So I don't see them winning this by a ton, but it could happen. But on the flip side of it, you could see Baylor give it to Oklahoma State. So, I mean, oh gosh, this week is so tough. This week is so tough to predict. I don't know if I can do it. I still have to go through my predictions at the end of this show, and I'm kind of worried. Which I don't know why I'd be worried. My predictions have not been doing so hot for the last, I would say, like 3 weeks. My prediction record is down to 14-11. Oh goodness gracious, that's just rough. But anyways, what do you guys think? Who shows up? Who shows up? Does Baylor continue their run? Or does Oklahoma State come back and get their first win in the Big 12? I don't know. You tell me. You guys tell me. The next one is Texas Tech. 5-2 Texas Tech heading to 4-3 TCU. Now this game will be on Fox at 3:30. Fox at 3:30. Five and 2 Texas Tech goes to 4-3 TCU. And that will be on Fox at 3:30. Again, it's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing for all these games this week. I just don't know what teams are going to show up for every team in the Big 12 because everybody is just so bleh. Yeah, it's tough to predict right now, man. I think so. For the Oklahoma State game, I meant to say this. For the Oklahoma State game, the spread right now is actually Baylor by 7, which, again, it's a home game for Baylor. So, and for the Texas Tech and TCU game, the spread right now is actually 6.5 TCU. It's like I was saying. Away games, on the road games in the Big 12 they're tough. They're tough, and that's why I'm not a betting man. Can't do it. I'm just curious if Brooks can keep things going on the ground, that offense will be okay. It's really the concerns lie in the defense. After giving up 59 to Baylor, I'm sure that they got absolutely smacked at practice the next day or at the next practice. So really the question becomes, does the defense show up for Texas Tech against TCU? Because obviously the defense is going to show up for TCU. They held Utah to 7. And being a home game, it's going to be tough for Texas Tech. I don't really see Texas Tech. That might have been a demoralizing loss for Texas Tech in that Baylor game. Now, of course, we may see them bounce back. So we don't know. But yeah. I'm kind of seeing, since it's a home game for TCU, I'm kind of seeing them continuing to Maybe push Texas Tech on down that downhill train. Maybe. I don't know. Man, there is just some tough games this week. Tough, tough, tough. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't even paying attention to the comments. Mountaineer Athlete says, what in the world happened to Justin Robinson? Man, to be honest with you, I don't even want to comment on it. I mean, I will. I won't talk beyond what is out there. But Justin Robinson got into some trouble after he left after his senior year. If I'm not mistaken, I think he got into some trouble with maybe messing around with some underage women or something. It was something crazy, something just off the wall wild. I don't remember if it was underage women or if it was some kind of sexual assault or something like that. It was something of that nature. He got in some big trouble. Matter of fact, it might have been he had some underage pictures or something. I can't remember. It's wild. It is crazy what happened to him. And he just fell off the map. It's crazy. All right. Sorry, guys. Having some technical difficulties. It's not